to the Refined Strength podcast. It's me again, solo podcasting. And I probably said this last time I solo podcasted, which was the last podcast. But having a podcast and having the pressure that I put on myself to put out a weekly podcast, even when I fail sometimes, like I did last week, I didn't put one out. I honestly thought I had another one banked, and then my assistant told me I didn't, and I was like, oh fuck, okay. It's a blessing and a curse because I love the podcast and I love having so many people who really love it too, and who listen and watch and tell me about it and tag me in their stories about it. So I really appreciate everyone who listens, but also everyone who is very patient with me as I continue to figure out podcasting. But new things are in the works for the podcast. We are moving and settling into this new house. So for those of you that have been here for a little bit, I painted my wall, so it's a new color. But I am working on getting more of like an actual podcast setup in my normal podcast chair from back in season 1, for those of you that remember. But anyway, I am here because I want to talk about the habits that make us successful. And specifically, I'm going to talk about my habits that have made me successful and also just keep me grounded. And being grounded is a big part of why I've been successful in various ways in my life. Could I be more successful? Absolutely. We all can be. But so far, these have been things that if I notice and observe myself and watch how I perform in various aspects of my life, whether it's as an athlete, as a friend, as a partner, as a coach, as anything, I notice I can always trace that performance back to habits. So I wanted to talk about habits because it's also something that I hear a lot in check-ins from my athletes, where I get asked questions about time. How do you have time for these things? How do I make time for XYZ new habit that I want them to form, or something that I just want them to start working on when it comes to how they're going to be successful. Take this podcast for anyone listening and really just focus on, not all of these habits or routines have to be yours in order for you to be successful, but you might find that some of them you implement the same exact thing and it works for you. And some of them you might have to shift it, tweak it a little bit. I'm someone who works from home. I don't have kids. I just have 3 crazy dogs. And my lifestyle is really comfortable in the way of like, I can just create that new habit because of that lifestyle. So take some things with a grain of salt. Some things might not apply to you. And that's the beauty of social media, is that not everything applies to everyone. So when you see something on social media or a podcast or in a book, you might take it and run with it and it works really well for you and it changes your life. Or you might take it and feel like, I don't think that applies to me. And that's okay. So anyway, starting off with why habits are important for your success and why are they so good for your brain. So our brains really like efficiency. When we have so many decisions to make all throughout the day, it gets tired. So if you've ever had a day where you're just like rolling and you're doing a million things, you have so much going on and you had to like answer to a lot of people answering to you, you had to make a lot of decisions, a lot of hard calls, even if they were really small, like what to eat, what color to choose for something, what to wear. All of these little decisions add up, and it means your mental bandwidth is taxed. It's stretched. So if you have habits, like habits that are a part of routine and things like that, it frees up some of that mental bandwidth. So when we repeat things, so habits are usually things that we repeat, they're ritualistic or habitual, that helps to rewire the pathways in your brain. And so the identity of the person who has the habits that you need to do to be the person that you want to be the version of yourself that you want to be, that just starts becoming automatic. So if you think about, who you want to be, maybe you're listening to this and you want to be a IFBB pro. Maybe you want to be successful in your job. You want to be in a loving partnership. You want something that you don't have that is very identity driven. You have to start thinking about what does that person do? So think about who you want to be and what it is your goal is, and like what that person, that version of yourself, what they do on a day-to-day basis. So an activity I have a lot of clients do is, if they're really having trouble with some of the more habitual things or whatever it is, I tell them, think about your goal. You want to be an IFBB pro. You want to win an overall. You want to just step on stage for the first time. Or maybe they want to do something different. Maybe it's not bodybuilding related. You have to think about think about who that person is, visualize them in your mind so that you have a clear depiction of who they are, but also what they do. How do they wake up in the morning? Do they press snooze? Do they just roll right out of bed and pick up their phone, start scrolling, start checking email? What do they do day to day? What kind of things do they eat? What kind of decisions do they make when it comes to their food, their water intake, how they speak to people, things like that? Because I think that's something that not enough of us think about, is the version of us that we're trying to become. They're obviously different because we're not her yet. You're not him yet. So what does she or he do? Literally, what do they do? So that's where that identity starts becoming automatic. Is because you take inventory of all those things that person does. You start doing them to the best of your ability. Then that you eventually get used to it because it becomes habitual. Good habits lead to just fewer decisions. That leads to more energy for other things. So as you free up that mental bandwidth, you all of a sudden have mental bandwidth for things. So you have the idea of oh, wow, I feel so good and ready for the gym, instead of at the end of the day with no habits and no rituals, no routines. You might not have that bandwidth where you're going to feel like that at the end of the day, that you're super ready to train. So that has helped me in both athletic endeavors and coaching, is just having habits that keep me grounded and keep me moving towards the person I'm trying to become. Personally, I want to be a world-class coach. I want to be an amazing coach, more so than I am now. And I want to have a business that I can eventually step back from. That is my ultimate goal, that I can step back, only have a handful of clients maybe, and do other things to help other coaches, help my athletes just continue to thrive. I'm not there yet, and I'm not trying to be there right now, but I'm doing the little things over time to get there. So a lot of that has to be about, how can I get more consistent? Or how can I be more, I have to be more consistent in order to be more persistent. And I have to know that each little thing will add up over time. I just have to keep going with it. So habit number 1. This is actually a habit that I implemented recently. So I haven't been doing this for that long, but it has definitely started helping. And that's why I wanted to start with it. So recently, it was around the time of the Olympia, and I saw, after Rhea Gale won her first Olympia, she mentioned something on her stories about how she stretches twice a day, or something like that. I don't even remember what it said, but someone had asked her a question, and she talks about doing mobility and stretch work twice a day, non-negotiable. And I thought about that. It's like, wow, I had, up until this point, thought about myself as someone who was really good at doing her mobility and her stretching and things like that, because I do a lot of mobility work prior to training, and it really helps me with training, but also with injury prevention. And it helps me when I do get injured or tweaked or something like that. It helps me fix that, whatever it is, like low back tweak, I know what to do to fix it. So I read that and I was like, dang, I'm only doing it once a day. I need to level up. And that's a really easy way to level up. So I decided to wake up 15 minutes earlier. I set my alarm, instead of 6:45, set it to 6:30. I told myself I'm not hitting snooze anymore. I wasn't doing that a lot, but I was doing that maybe once a week, maybe twice. And so I stopped pressing snooze. And just for the last 3 weeks of doing this, I feel better, more energy throughout the first part of the morning. I feel more woken up. I feel more equipped to handle the day. And I noticed that by the time I get to train, which is usually either midday, like 1 o'clock, or later in the evening, like 5 p.m., I feel a lot better. And I'm already a little bit more looser because I did that stretch. So the stretching also is a time where I get to just chill and not be stimulated, because by this point, I haven't looked at my phone yet. So that's one rule that I have, is that I don't look at my phone unless I have an athlete peaking, where I'm asking them to check in. I want to get back to them right away. And unless I have an athlete peaking, I will not look at my phone until after I probably about like 40 minutes after I wake up. And I'll go through a couple of the other habits that I have and routines that I have that lead me to that point. So the morning stretch, that's like kind of my first cue for presence, just being present in my body so that I know that I'm doing the things that will help me set myself up for success. So my goal is like, obviously I want to do well on stage next year. And part of doing well on stage next year is what I'm doing right now. I'm in a growth phase right now. I'm focused on building. I'm focused on pushing myself, building strength, building muscle, and staying healthy. So stretching is a big part of that. And it helps wake my body up before my mind is really up. So habit number 2 is I take a morning walk. Me and Austin do this every single day, at least Monday through Friday. Weekends, we don't always make it, but we're usually pretty active throughout the day on weekends, more so than we are during the week. So I take that morning walk. We get sunlight, we get movement. That's a really good mood regulation. It also helps your eyesight and eye health and your overall neuroplasticity if you are looking at things that are far away. When I'm in my house, in my office, I'm looking at things maybe 20 feet away, and that's it. So outside, you can look at things really far away. You're also getting really fresh air. Again, the sunlight for vitamin D. So it helps anchor your circadian rhythm. And it also gives us the time to connect before our days start and we go off to our offices. So that connection is really important to us. Even though we spend all day together because we both work from home, it is really helpful to have that connection. Sometimes we talk about our day, sometimes we don't. Just kind of depends on what's on our minds. Habit 3 is after that morning walk, after I make coffee, which is the next step, I make a quad shot latte. Kind of my thing, part of my brand is a quad shot latte every day. So I make that, and then I go upstairs and I read in my kind of reading corner in my office. So I usually read 1 to 2 things. Usually it's a few pages, like a chapter in whatever book I'm reading. A lot of times I'm reading something that will help me develop as a person. It's not necessarily a self-help or self-develop. I guess it's more self-development or just something that I can learn about that will help me as a person, but also help me help others because that's what I do all day. So it really sets the tone for me so that I can get into the workday with a little wisdom or something that maybe I can use for myself that I needed to see and learn, or maybe it's something I can use for social media or something like that. So that's what I do is I read for 15 minutes. And I have actually gotten away from this habit recently, which is writing down things I'm grateful for, but I just need a new notebook, so I need to do that. But that reading helps me get that quiet input before the world gives me noise, because I'm getting noise all day, because for my job, I have clients checking in all day. So I'll deal with anywhere from, 15 to 25 check-ins every single day. And that's generally like a 2 to 10 minute response for every single person. And it's looking over blood work. It's looking over problems. It's looking over happy things and wins. And it's putting pictures side by side. And it's a lot. So in order for me to give a lot, I need to give to myself first, because that's the only way I'm going to be able to give as much as I give every day. So whatever job you're in, listening to this, it's important to think about what you give throughout the day, whoever you are, whatever you do, and really look at like, what do I need the most in order to give that at my best and succeed at what I'm doing. So that's the 15-minute reading habit. It's usually about 15 minutes, and then I get into work. The habit number 4, I don't know if it's really a habit, but one thing that it helps me stay grounded and stay just focused in my job, and it helps me stay a good coach, is I have some daily work non-negotiables for myself. So non-negotiable, I always finish my check-ins. I think that should be a non-negotiable for all coaches, but sometimes it's not, I guess. I've been hearing about people like coaches taking 2 to 3 days, if not a full week, to get back to check-ins, which I think is crazy, but whatever. I get back to my clients' check-ins the same day, usually within a couple hours, unless they check in late, and then I, don't respond until the next day. But anyway, so I have my client check-ins, those are non-negotiables. I usually have like posting on social media at least once, that's non-negotiable. And then anything else, I usually try to have a list of things going, of other projects, other things that I need to do, podcast things, there's ebook stuff. There's other resources that I need to make sure are done or at least being worked on. And then another non-negotiable is it might not be every day, but it's at least once a week where I check in with my team, my 2 coaches, and just make sure if they need anything or have anything that they want from me or anything that they're struggling with, something like that. Or if we just need to shoot the shit and talk a little bit about what's going on. So those are some habits that are non-negotiable for me. They're just tasks that must happen no matter what. So that breaks the cycle of me being overwhelmed. And I can also give myself the reward of all right, if I do these things, if I do my non-negotiables, then I'm doing a good job. And so that prevents me from feeling inadequate or telling myself that I failed the day just because I didn't get one thing on my list done, because that's what happens a lot. And that's what I used to do back in my corporate job days and just maybe in the beginning of being a coach, is if I didn't get all the things done on my list that I was a failure. And that's just not true, because you still did a good job if you got your non-negotiables in. Look at certain things throughout the day as benchmarks for myself. So I want to get through X amount of check-ins before I go down and make breakfast, or I want to get through X amount of check-ins before I, get up and take another walk or something like that. So that has helped me have those guilt-free breaks as well, because a lot of times I'm just I just want to get everything done at once. And that's not really that sustainable. So habit number 5, deep breathing throughout the day. So Austin sometimes will ask me what's wrong if I just take a really deep breath and sigh, because it's just a breath. It might be one, it might be multiple in a row, it might be combined with some stretching, whatever it is, it's a chance for myself to check in and get myself a quick reset, especially if I'm feeling especially overwhelmed, stressed, emotional, or whatever. And it just helps me shift from the doing and thinking to just being, just reminding myself to breathe. And that might sound crazy for some people, but if you ever feel yourself really tense and kind of filled up with cortisol, your stress hormone all day, check in with yourself last time you took a really deep breath. Because most of the time when we are stressed, we're taking shallow breaths. We're not taking full, deep breaths. Something that I'll often talk to clients about, because this is something that has helped me in the past when I had trouble more with stress and overwhelm, is box breathing. So it's a 4 to 6 second inhale, a 4 to 6 second hold, and then a 4 to 6 second exhale, and then another 4 to 6 second hold. So really just depends on your breathing capacity. Start with 4 seconds each and then maybe move up. I also have the Aura Ring. So sometimes I'll do an Aura Ring meditation on the Aura Ring app, and that really helps. So that little break in the day, just reminding yourself of your breath, brings oxygen to the brain so it can help you think a little bit better. Bonus points if you're taking that breath or those breaths outside when you have fresh air and sunlight. Number 6 is post-meal movement. So I don't take a walk after every meal. I honestly don't have time for that. But I do try to make a little bit of movement happen. So generally, I'm fasting in the morning a little bit, then I eat my first meal, usually trying for around 10:30. And after I eat that meal, I'll do a few things around the house. So I'll load the dishwasher, or I'll unload the dishwasher, or I'll clean the kitchen a little bit, or I'll go in and fold some clothes or something like that. That little bit of a habit helps me throughout the year in various phases. It helps me just get some movement in, because most of the time I'm just sitting here at my desk and that's not enough movement. So I want to get 10K steps a day in. So for me, since I work from home, that's what I do. For athletes, I say, if you have a lunch break, take your lunch and then walk outside or walk around the building, walk up and down the stairs. So there's lots of different opportunities for movement. You just have to sometimes be creative with it. So that's why I will get creative with just doing things around the house, because then they get done too. And then I don't feel as worried about things that haven't been done yet, especially at the end of the day when I don't want to do anything. Post-meal walks or movement are also really good for just your insulin sensitivity and your digestion, food utilization. So it has a lot of other, and when I am in prep, I will typically really try to make it an actual walk so I can get just more steps and a little bit more movement in. Number 7, habitual meals. So we talked about decision fatigue earlier on, and that's just the fatigue that comes from thinking about, what do I eat? What should I eat for this meal? What should I eat for that meal? Since I'm home, I can be super flexible and I can decide on the fly what I want to eat. But even with that, I'm still eating the same things every day. most of the time. So the things that I will change will be, I'll change a little amount of berries or sourdough. I'll usually interchange some carbs, but my proteins will always stay the same. Like I'm always having eggs and egg whites and turkey bacon in the morning. I'm always having a whey protein for my pre-workout. I'm always having chicken or shrimp for my post-workout. So I'm almost always keeping the proteins and even the fats the same. It's the carbs that change a little bit, especially if I have a higher carb day, like my leg day. I have 500 carbs every leg day. So that sometimes changes depending on like what I have available, like honey, applesauce, juice, things like that. So having habitual meals, like I always do cream of rice pre-workout. I always do chicken and rice post-workout or some kind of protein and rice. And that removes the need to think about what I'm eating or needing to do. And it also protects my energy for other things. Like I know that those foods digest well. So if I was having a day where my digestion was shitty, I would be thinking about that and not being able to put that into my work, into my clients, into my own training, into everything else, into creativity, all of it. So that's a big one, is just habitual meals. A lot of people, they get into bodybuilding for the first time or just in a fitness journey, and they think that they shouldn't have to eat the same thing every day, or they can't possibly, I'm doing air quotes for those of you that aren't watching, like I couldn't possibly eat the same thing every day because that sounds so boring. Guess what? You're living a long life. Like life is short for sure, but you're living a long life with lots of days. So does it really make sense for you to think that you need a different meal plan every single day, or you need to have like wild variety every day? That's kind of silly to really think about it. And it's also kind of wasteful usually too. The people that have like a totally different meal plan every single day are oftentimes not using all the food that they're getting for their crazy recipes. They're wasting things, or they forget about things, or they're not using everything, or things go bad, whatever. So I'm a big fan of trying to use all of the food that I buy and all of the things and use it up and only rebuy when I use it up. So that's a big one for me, and it helps me save money on food. That's another thing. It's like if you're trying to have a bunch of variety, it is difficult over time to have that variety and not be spending extra money on all of these foods and dresses and sauces and things that make you have that variety. So I choose to have more just consistency, but I do have plenty of variety in my diet. So another habit is now towards more the end of the day, which is my sleep kit. So that's what me and Austin call it, is a sleep kit. It's basically the things that I use for sleep. So I use earplugs partially because he snores. I know I do too, but partially because he snores and he usually falls asleep first. And then also because it helps me kind of shut off my senses. So I even use it if I'm traveling and I'm alone, because I really like having like no noise coming in. It gives me I can hear a little bit, like if some loud crashing was happening, I can hear it, but for the most part, it shuts everything out. I also wear an eye mask, and it's kind of like a weighted, like a beanbag eye mask, and it's silky, and that helps me not only the weight of it kind of acts as like a calming sensation basically on your face, but it also blocks out any light. So that helps me a lot with just being able to sleep, because sometimes our eyes don't create a full seal when we're sleeping. So your eyes can get really dry, wake up, and just it's kind of uncomfortable. And the light itself, whether it's from outside or from like an alarm clock, TV, or a clock or something like that, even those small lights can really not damage, but they can disrupt your sleep. So I am a big proponent of just making sure your sleep environment is as sleepy as possible in the best way. So like having a cool environment, not wearing a lot of constricting clothes, making sure that you have like layers on. So if you get hot, you can take a layer off in terms of like a blanket, doing things like eye masks, earplugs, stuff like that, machine, whatever you need in order to have a good night's sleep. I also will take the Cured Nutrition sleep product. So Dream, the new gummies that just came out, and then the sleep oil or sleep caps. Those are huge for me, not every night, but I do it every night in prep when I start to get a little bit like when sleeping starts to get a little difficult. And the dream has been helping a lot. And it also just gives me kind of vivid dreams, which is cool. That is my habit around sleep. Another part of it is I try not to look at my screen before bed for the last 30 minutes to an hour. I also reduce overall like disruptions and stimulants. So no caffeine after a certain time of day, and no loud extreme music or TV or anything like that. Like I really try to just calm and chill down in the so it kind of transitions fluidly to bedtime. So those are my habits. Success is built on you having systems. If you don't have a system, you're not automatically going to do what you need to do to get that success. So a lot of people think that they're just waiting on this motivation. So they sign up for with coaches and they think that that's enough for them to get motivation. You sign up for the gym, you buy some classes, you buy whatever it is, and you think that's going to motivate you. But that dopamine hit from that little bit of motivation from like starting a new program or starting prep or deciding that you're going to compete in a bodybuilding show, that motivation will come and go. It doesn't matter who you are and how motivated you feel right now. It will leave when things start to get hard. But if you have systems in place, like systems like meal prep, systems like a morning walk or an alarm clock that's the same every day, and just all of these things that I talked about, you're going to have such a better time reaching that place that you're trying to be at because it's all automatic. It's like a computer that does all of these automatic functions. It's all just running in the background. So these habits have helped me immensely in just regulating and keeping my nervous system predictable. It helps me just stay grounded and stay more present because I'm not having to think about all of these extra things that I have to do because they're essentially already done or they're already going to happen because they're a part of my habitual routine. So hopefully you benefited from this episode. Tell me in the comments if you have any questions or if you would like to see other topics from me and the coaches, from anyone at all, from other guests. We'll try to have some other guests coming on very soon. So thank you guys as always for listening, and I hope you have an amazing day. Bye.